Hello and welcome to the Diabetes Prevention Recording Series. My name is Brooke Preston and I'm the GemCare Wellness Registered Dietitian and Wellness Coach that will be leading today's session. This is the first class of the Diabetes Prevention Program, so I want to extend you a warm welcome and thank you for watching. We're looking forward to the year ahead. So today I'll be providing you with an introduction to the Diabetes Prevention Program. So first, we'll cover what to expect prior to, during, and after each class, along with some basic housekeeping items. So you are currently watching a recording of the class session. So if you're unable to attend class, it will be important to let your class dietitian know ahead of time if you're able. This way, we can send you the video recording of class so that you don't miss any important information. It's also important to attend the live sessions of class as often as possible because our classes often contain great discussion and interaction. Attending the live version of class will help you to get the most out of it and will allow you to ask questions and get feedback in real time. If you do need to miss a class, we can send you a recording of that class. So after you watch the recording of the class that you missed, it'll be important that you let your class dietitian know that you've watched the recording, as well as send along your weight and your physical activity minutes for the week, which I will explain shortly in more detail. It's also important when you're watching these recordings that you watch them as quickly as you can after you missed class. If it's possible, please try to watch the video and let your class dietitian know you've watched the recording within a week's time. All of our live class sessions are recorded, so if you see the recording button flashing, you know why. During our live class sessions, it's also helpful to share your video. So this helps us to get to know you and put your name with a face. And since these classes are virtual, we find the more that we become familiar with you and with each other, the more it can help us to form a strong support network and foster accountability. This class is largely discussion-based, and we want to hear from you. Everybody has such great questions and ideas, and we encourage you to share them. Feel free to speak up in class if you have a question or a comment, but kindly mute yourself if you're not talking in order to minimize any background noise. So more specific to today's recorded lessons and any recorded lessons you might watch moving forward, you'll notice that in the recorded lessons, there are times when I will show and read you a question, and I will pause for 20 or 30 seconds to let you answer that question to yourself. You might want to answer those questions out loud or grab a pen and some paper to jot down your thoughts. This will help you learn. So as I just briefly mentioned, each class will be asking for your weight and your physical activity minutes. So in order to be able to provide this program to you free of charge, this data is important for us to have. So please be as timely as you can with sending this information over to us each week. You can send it before, during, or after class. We will show you our contact information every class with a slide at the beginning and at the end of class to remind you just where to send it. That slide will look similar to the example I have shown here. Your class dietitian's name, phone number, and email will be listed. If you do watch a recorded session, please send your data to your assigned class dietitian after you watch the video. There's no need to worry about the time of day that you send that data. We only have access to that during work hours, and we will be sure to text or email you back to let you know we received your message. It will be important to let your class dietitian know what your preferred method of contact is. We can communicate with you via phone call, text messaging, portal messaging, or email. If you'd like to receive text from us, we need to obtain a specific consent from you, so make sure to mention this to your dietitian as well. So you should have received the welcome email from the Diabetes Prevention Program email address. It might be helpful for you to add that email listed here on this slide to your email contact list. This email will be the email that you receive those reminder emails from. So they might go to your spam or your junk mail account if you don't add that to your contact list. So just a heads up there. Here is a picture of what the reminder emails will look like that you'll receive prior to each class. This email will include the time of your upcoming class. It'll include a link to the coaching portal, and this allows you to message your weight and your physical activity minutes for the week to your class dietitian if you've registered. And just as a reminder, you can also send that information via email, text, or leaving a voicemail as well. And in this email, you'll also find a list of handouts that will be covered in that week's upcoming class. And then you'll find a link to the Zoom meeting for that week's class along with the Zoom meeting ID. And just a note, remember that the Zoom link will change for each class, so it's important to stay up to date on those class emails so you're able to join the right meeting. There will also be information for how to access the meeting from your phone if need be. And then the initial program email that you received will have also contained a program schedule with the dates of all of the classes listed. So make sure to print that out or save that for your records as well. You can access these classes on various devices. It might be helpful to attend class on a big screen like an iPad or a PC versus a small phone screen. And keep in mind too, if you ever need to simply use your phone to call into the meeting, that's an option too. If you call in, you would just only be able to hear the class and not see it. Keep in mind too that after each class, your dietitian might also send a follow-up email with pertinent information, which might contain any additional educational material about a topic discussed or maybe a question that was brought up in class. All right, so now that we've taken care of some of the important items about the class, let's dive into the Introduction to the Diabetes Prevention Program itself. So you'll see with each class that we will show the participant module on the screen, and feel free to follow along with us or follow along with your own copies as well. So this program is designed for people with prediabetes and those at high risk for type 2 diabetes who want to lower their risk. So we'll review the program goals and structure today. We'll talk about prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, risk factors, and how to lower your risk today. And we will also set your 6-month goals today and make an action plan that you'll work on between now and our next class. So let's talk about prediabetes, and this can be found on page 2 of this module's handouts. So prediabetes means your blood sugar is higher than normal, but it's not quite high enough to be considered type 2 diabetes. More than 1 in 3 American adults has prediabetes, and 9 out of 10 people with prediabetes don't know they have it. If you have prediabetes, you're more likely to get diabetes, heart disease, or have a stroke. The good news is that losing weight and being active can actually cut your risk for type 2 diabetes in half. So let's go ahead and watch a short video about prediabetes.
Prediabetes means that your blood sugar is higher than normal, but it's not high enough for type 2 diabetes. When you have a blood test, your blood sugar results can fall into 3 categories: normal, slightly elevated, and elevated. Let's look at this more closely. These results are based on if you had the test done fasting, meaning you didn't have any food or calorie-containing drinks for 8 hours before getting the blood test done, or non-fasting, meaning any time of the day regardless of what you ate or drank. Let's look at the fasting results. If your blood sugar was less than 100, well, then that would be normal. If your fasting blood sugar was between 100 and 125, that's in the prediabetes range. And if you had a 126 or higher fasting blood sugar, that's in the diabetes range. Shockingly, more than 1 in 3 American adults fall into the prediabetes range, and 9 out of 10 of those don't even know they have it. These are staggering numbers. But luckily, we're fortunate to know that we have it and we can take action now to change the course of our health. Why bother? Well, people with prediabetes are more likely to get type 2 diabetes, heart disease, or a stroke. That's why you're taking time now in order to prevent or delay type 2 for many years to come. And it's a little like saving for retirement. A little effort as you go, and you'll see the benefits start to happen with a big payoff later as you'll be healthier as you age. Plus, every year you prevent or delay getting type 2, it'll save you on average about $10,000 in medical bills that are directly related to diabetes. Think of that multiplied out for a decade. That's a savings of $100,000 if you can prevent it.
Okay, so now that we know a little bit more about prediabetes, let's talk about the goals of this program. So please look at Prevent T2 goals on page 3. So Prevent T2 is a year-long program, and it's designed for people with prediabetes. It's also for people who are at high risk for type 2 diabetes and want to lower their risk. By the end of the first 6 months, we have 2 goals that we'll be working towards achieving. So the first goal is to lose at least 5 to 7% of your starting weight. So as an example, that means losing 5 to 7 pounds for every 100 pounds. So an individual that weighs 200 pounds, for 5 to 7% of that body weight, that would equate to losing 10 to 14 pounds. So we'll review what 5 to 7% of weight loss looks like for you specifically shortly. The second goal of this program is to get at least 150 minutes of activity each week. And then by the end of the second 6 months, your goal is to either keep the weight off that you've lost or keep working towards your goal weight if you haven't reached it, lose more weight if you wish, and keep getting that 150 minutes of activity each week. So losing weight can prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. It can ease sleep problems, arthritis, and depression. It can lower your blood pressure and cholesterol level, and it can make you feel better about yourself. Getting more active can prevent or delay type 2 diabetes, give you more energy, help you to sleep better, improve your memory, your balance, and your flexibility, lift your mood, lower your blood pressure and cholesterol, lower your risk of heart attack and stroke, lower your stress level, and strengthen your muscles and bones. Some great benefits. And I wanted to point out these pages here. So these are sent to you every week for you to use if you wish. And these can help you track your own progress. So there's a weight log as well as a fitness log, and this can be helpful to record your minutes and your progress that you will share with us each time we meet for the next 6 months. Remember that we'll need you to report your weight and your physical activity minutes each week, so this might be a helpful tool to help you keep track. So the goal of this program is to prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. So let's go through some of the basics of that disease. So please look at type 2 diabetes on page 4. So when you eat, your body breaks down food into glucose, which is a type of sugar. In people without type 2 diabetes, a hormone called insulin helps sugar to leave the blood and enter the cells, and this gives the cells energy. In people with type 2 diabetes, the body doesn't either make or use insulin well. So sugar builds up in the blood instead of going into the cells, and the cells don't get enough energy. Type 2 diabetes can harm your heart and your blood vessels, which can lead to heart attacks and strokes. It can harm your nerves, your kidneys, your eyes, your feet, your gums, and your skin. And you're more likely to get type 2 diabetes if you are overweight or obese, if you spend a lot of time sitting or lying down, if you have a parent or sibling with type 2 diabetes, if you're African American, Hispanic, Native American, or Asian American, if you're 45 and older, and this is because people tend to be less active and gain weight as they age, but type 2 diabetes is also on the rise in young people, or if you had diabetes while you were pregnant. So while you can't control all of these factors, you can control your weight and how active you are. So let's talk about our next steps. So please look at your 6-month goals on page 5. So remember that your 6-month activity goal is to get 150 minutes of activity each week at a moderate pace or more. And this does not change throughout the program. So those 150 minutes of activity each week will be a constant goal. So before you can set your 6-month weight goal, you need to decide what percentage of your starting weight you'd like to lose. Again, the goal of the program is to lose 5 to 7% of your starting weight over the next 6 months. So let's look at weight loss by the numbers on pages 7 and 8. So we're going to use this chart to help us determine the number of pounds you would like to lose based on your starting weight. So this chart guides you through what a 5, 6, or 7% weight loss looks like based on your body weight. So let's run through an example. So say your current weight is 190 pounds. We would first find 190 pounds in this chart in the blue column. Next, we would look at the following 3 columns to the right. So you'll see there's a column that says 5%, one that says 6%, and one that says 7%. If we look at the first white column to the right of 190, that says 10. So that means losing 5% of 190 pounds is a 10-pound loss. This would mean your ultimate weight goal would be 180 pounds. If we look at the second white column to the right of 190, it says 11. So that means losing 6% of 190 pounds is losing 11 pounds. And that means that your ultimate weight goal would be 179 pounds. Finally, if we look at that third white column to the right of 190 pounds, the column says 13. And that means losing 7% of 190 pounds is 13 pounds, which means your ultimate weight goal would be 178 pounds. So please find your starting weight, and that's the number you gathered for us prior to class. So find your starting weight on this chart and decide what percentage of weight you would like to lose over the next 6 months. So 5, 6, or 7%. And I'll give you a few minutes to locate your current weight and take a look at what 5, 6, and 7% would be. Decide what's realistic for you and make that your goal. And then use page 5 of this module to write down your current weight and what you decide is your 6-month weight loss goal. And as you're wrapping that up, if you do need any additional help figuring out what 5 to 7% of your body weight would be, Feel free to contact your class dietitian and they can help you to come up with that goal. So this is the page that I just referred to that you should be using to record your current weight and that 6-month weight loss goal. And I encourage you to keep this one handy for reference throughout the class. So to help you succeed in this program, you will make a new action plan at each session. So please look at your action plan journal and let's look at tips for making your action plan on page 2. So you should have received this attachment in the email you received from the Diabetes Prevention Program email prior to class. As you make your action plan, you'll want to keep 6 things in mind. So the first 2 are be realistic. You want to plan actions that are realistic for you. And that second point is to make it doable. You want to plan those small changes. Over time, these changes add up to make a big difference. Let's take a closer look. So what are some realistic actions you could take to work towards the goal of 150 minutes of activity each week? Let's give that some thought. So what are some realistic actions that you could take to work towards that goal of 150 minutes of activity each week? So let's talk through some examples. So maybe you could stop by the park on the way home and just walk a few laps. Maybe you could wake up a half hour early to take a bike ride around your neighborhood. Maybe you could walk on the treadmill for 15 minutes while talking to a friend on the phone. So we always want to make sure that the goals we set for ourselves are within reason. So if you're new to exercise and just starting out, it's okay to start small. Work on establishing good habits and routines and increasing from there. Setting goals that are not realistic can be overwhelming and actually deter you from making progress. The next tips for making an action plan is to be specific and plan your actions in detail. You'll want to decide what you will do, where you will do it, when you will do it, and how long you will do it. So let's take a closer look at this too. So remember, being detailed about those goals we set is key. And the more detailed we can be means the more we've had time to kind of give that action plan some thought, which makes it more likely to be successful. So what are some specific actions that you could take to work towards the goal of 150 minutes of activity each week? Let's walk through a little example. So what will I do for activity? I'll walk. Where will I do this activity? I'll walk around the block in my neighborhood. When will I do this activity? I'll walk around the block in my neighborhood at 7:30 a.m. before I need to get ready for work. How long? How long will I do this activity? I'll walk around the block in my neighborhood at 7:30 a.m. before I need to get ready for work for 30 minutes. So see how a very general goal of being active turns into a very specific goal of I'll walk around the block in my neighborhood at 7:30 a.m. before I need to get ready for work for 30 minutes. So this means that the goal is very well thought out and planned. Since we have the specifics, it means you're much more likely to implement it. Another few things to keep in mind as you make your action plan are to be flexible, review your action plan often, look for ways to cope with challenges, and if your action plan isn't working for you, revise it. You also want to focus on behaviors. So for instance, you can control how many pounds you lose by focusing on your actions, such as what you eat and how active you are. You want to make it enjoyable, so change doesn't have to be painful. It can be fun. So find activities and healthy foods you enjoy. All right, so now it's time to make your first action plan. Let's look at action plan on page 3. So first, you want to set a goal to work on between now and our next session. This goal should help you to lower your risk of type 2 diabetes. Next, you'll want to list actions that you will take to reach that goal. You'll want to specify where, when, and how long you will do these actions. Also, list any challenges that you might face and how to cope with these challenges. And as you make your action plan, you want to remember to keep it realistic, doable, specific, and flexible. Remember to focus on those behaviors and, as always, try to have fun. You can think about the material we talked about in class today. Maybe your action plan will have to do with your activity minutes. Maybe your action plan will have to do with a specific way you'll eat more healthy this week. Whatever it is, make sure it's realistic, doable, specific, and flexible. So right now, I'll give you a minute or two to write down your goals and set your action plan for this week ahead. Okay, so we are ready to wrap things up for the day. As you're finishing up those action plans, I want to thank you for attending the first class of the Diabetes Prevention Program. And just as a reminder, today we discussed the program goals and structure of class and the basics of type 2 diabetes. And we also set your 6-month goals and created an action plan for the week ahead. And so this is the point in class each week that we remind you to send your weight and physical activity minutes to your dietitian. And remember, this can be done via the link in the portal in the email you received prior to this class, or by email, by text, or by calling your dietitian. Please see your program schedule to find the contact information for your class dietitian. In future classes, when you attend those live sessions, your dietitian's information will be pictured here on the screen. So thank you for watching this week's DPP session, which served as an introduction to the program. And don't forget to email the date that you watched this recording along with your goals, weight, and physical activity minutes to your dietitian. If you have any lingering questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to your dietitians and they'll be happy to answer your questions. Thanks.